Have you been wanting to quit your 9 to 5 and start freelancing? Maybe you haven't made the leap yet because you're not sure how or even if it'll work for you. Well, let me share some encouraging data. According to the Small Business Administration, there are over 27 million freelancers in the US, and a recent Gallup poll showed that about half of those are full-time. That means 13 million people have successfully made the transition to full-time freelancing. I've been a full-time freelancer for more than 20 years. I built a multiple six-figure per year freelance business, and I believe you can do it too. In this video, I'm going to share my 5 rules for getting started freelancing. And rule number 1 is to know your why. I will never forget my second semester of my second year of law school. I looked at myself in the mirror and I had these dark circles under my eyes. I've been sleeping about 4 hours per night. I was sick the entire semester. After 6 weeks, I hadn't even cracked open my constitutional law textbook. I was miserable. I really genuinely thought about giving up, but I'm not really a quitter. So I told myself, don't think about tomorrow, just think about today, what you have to get done today. Later that semester, I landed a law clerk job for the summer. This is where you get to work inside of a law firm under the direction of another attorney. And it's the closest thing you can get to practicing law before you actually become a lawyer. So I was excited that I got that position. But during those summer months where I was working in the law firm, I remember sitting in the law library in the law firm doing research for one of the partners, and I kept looking up at the clock, waiting, wishing that the day were over. I was not happy. I was very clear in my why. I was desperate for something else, but I didn't know what. Wow, there's like a whole pack of squirrels that just ran by me. What about you? What's your why? Are you unhappy in your career? Do you feel like maybe you've hit a ceiling and you just don't feel like you're going to be able to grow anymore in the position you're in? Maybe you want to increase your income and you're stuck where you are. Maybe you want more flexibility in your schedule. Or maybe you just have that entrepreneurial spirit and you're looking for something that's a little more adventurous. You want to strike out on your own. One of my favorite scriptures in the Bible is Colossians 3, verse 23. And it says this, whatever you do, do it from the heart as something done for the Lord and not for people. And it goes on to say, remember that when you're working, you're actually working for Jesus. You're serving Jesus. I love that scripture because it inspires me to think about wherever I'm at, I need to give my whole heart, but also to think about making sure that what I'm doing, I can give my whole heart to. I know that when I was studying the law and I was working in the law firm, I was not able to give my whole heart because I was just miserable. I believe it's important to find something that you can do with your whole heart. You're not going to get a do-over after working a career for 40 years. You only get to do that once. So why spend that time doing something that you're miserable in? While I was in law school, I started talking to other lawyers to find out how they felt about their profession, what kind of choices they made to get them into the law. And I found out that most of them were not happy. Out of all the attorneys that I spoke to, I only found one who was genuinely happy doing what they were doing, practicing law. And I don't think this just applies to attorneys. I think a lot of people end up miserable in their job. Don't waste your life doing work that you hate. This is not God's plan for your life. Ecclesiastes 2 and 3 talks about finding satisfaction in the work that you do. And that when you do, that is from God's hand. That is a gift from God. Something I learned along the path to searching for my career is that there are different things that give people satisfaction in their job. Some people just want a regular schedule, something that's set so that they can make plans outside of work and enjoy that part of their life. Some people want to have a flexible schedule so they can work around the other things in their life. Some people need to love what they do. I can definitely relate to that. I want to love what I'm doing for work. Some people want to earn a certain income. And that's going to give them the satisfaction. Maybe that's something that can fund their vacations or fund their hobbies or fund their savings or give to their family or give to their church or whatever they want to do with their money. Being able to earn a good income is something that's going to bring them satisfaction and make them feel fulfilled. Some people thrive on challenge, and they want to make sure that whatever they're doing is going to give them that intellectual challenge or maybe even a physical challenge. I even know people who want jobs that aren't too stressful, because the stress in the job bleeds over into the rest of their life, and then they're just not as productive, or they just can't enjoy the rest of their life. Some people may want prestige. They want maybe a job that gives them respect and admiration of people around them. And some people really seek out careers that are more vocation-based, something where they're actually using their life to help people, maybe working in missions or maybe working for a charity or many other ways that they could find fulfillment in more of a vocation-style work. Now, there are a few reasons that people stay stuck. One is they just don't know any different. The cost of ignorance. I honestly didn't know any different until a mentor who I had in law school, one of the professors, opened my eyes. I was supposed to do a third-year paper on finance transactions. That was my focus in law school. And we sat down several times while I was in law school. In the third year, one of the times we sat down, he looked at me and he said, "Brandon, you don't really want to be doing this, do you?" And I looked back at him and I said, "No, I don't." So he said, "Why don't you do this? Why don't you take that third-year paper that you have to do, instead of doing it on finance transactions, do it on alternative careers for lawyers?" And I said, "I can do that?" He said, "Yeah, you can do that. I'm telling you, you can do that." So that's what opened my mind to think that I don't have to do just the law. I could do many different things in my life. Even though I went to law school, I could do many different things. Another reason people stay stuck, golden handcuffs. This is where you start working a job, you start making good money, but then you're miserable and you feel like you can't leave because the lifestyle you carved out relies on that amount of money to pay your bills, to make ends meet. So a lot of people don't leave their current misery because they don't want to let go of the money. What I would say is that if you actually left your misery, found something that you truly found fulfillment and satisfaction in, you probably would be able to earn even more money because you'd be so invested in what you're doing. You would love what you do so much. And for the most part, that's going to make you a higher performer. And even if you don't end up making more money, you're going to be so much happier. Another reason people stay stuck is fear. Fear of what people think. Maybe fear of what their family thinks. Maybe fear of what their old classmates think or what their current peers think. And sometimes it's just fear of failure. I can tell you from my own personal experience that failure is not fatal. So don't give in to fear. Don't let that hold you back from being able to pursue a fulfilling freelance career. Rule number 2 is you got to know how you're going to start freelancing. One of the things you need to think about is it the right time? For me, when I started freelancing, I kind of squeezed it in. I was studying for my bar exam the second time around because I had failed it the first time. But while I was waiting for my bar exam results the second time, I built a website for the tennis shop that I worked at through school. It was a passion project for me. I did it for free. But ultimately, they started paying me. And then that led to almost a year-long gig helping build out their website that I had created for them for free initially into a full e-commerce site. But when I did that, I was in this natural holding period. When you take the bar exam, you have to wait 3 or 4 months to get the results back. So I wasn't really going anywhere quickly in my career anyways until I found out how I did on the bar exam and had that decision to make whether I was actually going to pursue the law. So I had the time where I could explore freelancing. So one thing you need to think about when it comes to how you're going to is it the time to do it? Or do you have the time? Do you have the time to start freelancing? The second is your financial runway. Your path to freelancing might look very different depending on your financial situation. At that time, during school, I had lived with my grandmother, and I was still kind of in that same, again, holding pattern, waiting situation. So my living expenses were very affordable. Another thing to think about when it comes to how you're going to start freelancing is showing potential clients something, an example of your work. The principle is this: show them, don't tell them. Alex Hormozy would say, proof over promise. The way I did it was I started out by making the website for the tennis shop for free. And because the tennis shop was very visible in the community, there were a lot of eyes on that website. So it was easy for me to say to someone, hey, look at the tennis shop website. I designed that. I built that website. Now, I think it's best to always get paid for the work you do, but it's also okay if you want to start out and do a project for free just to get something to show other people, to show potential clients. And by the way, that free project might actually turn into a paid gig like it did in my case. Now, the third rule of starting freelancing is you need to decide what you're going to do. And there are 3 different considerations here. The first one is what the market will pay for. You want to make sure you're doing something that people actually desire and will give you money for. And when I first started, it was during the internet boom. Every company wanted a website at that time. So the skill that I was developing was something that was very highly in demand. So make sure you choose something that is actually going to be profitable for you. The next most important thing to consider is, do you have a passion for it? When I was considering doing website development to get started as a freelancer, I knew 2 things. One, I loved to be creative. And I knew that creating websites was something that really fulfilled that part of me. Number 2, I loved tennis. So putting tennis together with creativity and being able to create that tennis shop website was something that I could put my whole heart into. And the third thing is, of course, it's important that you have proficiency in it, that you have some skills. But don't overthink this. When I first started, I had barely their skills in developing website. I'd only done one before, and it wasn't very good, for the company that I had worked at previously when they needed a website. For you to be able to offer your skills or your services to a potential client, you literally just need to be a few steps ahead of where they are. In my case, the tennis shop didn't know how to build their own website, but I was able to acquire those skills in just a few months' time. And don't forget about your transferable skills. What does that mean? Skills that you may have learned in other areas of life or other parts of your schooling that could translate to what you want to do as a freelancer. When I started website development and programming, I had only ever taken one programming course in college, and that was Fortran. And the only thing I remember doing in that course was doing a bubble sort routine, which I don't think I did very well. So I really didn't have computer skills at all. But what I had from law school were research skills. And that's something that I've used throughout my entire freelancing career. Even to this very day, I use it every single day, because when you're working in tech, you run into a lot of issues. And being able to research those issues and find the answers quickly is a critical part of what I do every day. Another thing I learned in law school was critical thinking skills. Being able to look at a problem from many different angles. That's also something that I use every day as a developer. And the third thing, and this is something I learned in law school, is asking the right questions. One of the most important things as a lawyer is you need to be able to ask the right questions. And it's the same as a software developer. I need to be able to ask the right questions in a discovery call to make sure that I'm meeting the client's needs and my project will solve their pain points. Now, when it comes to deciding what you want to do for freelancing, some people punt this. I would say, don't do that. Pick something. Because the truth is, you can do anything, but you can't do everything. So make sure you pick something. You can always pivot if it doesn't work out or if you decide you don't like it. Also, you will evolve. When I first started out, I was building very basic websites. Now, I do full-scale software development, and I also do data work for my clients, including business intelligence implementations. So when it comes to choosing what you want to freelance in, find something that the market will pay for, that businesses will actually pay for, something that's profitable, something that you have some passion for, something you have some real interest in, and something that you have some proficiency in. Or go out and get those skills so that you have that proficiency. Then just try something. And the fourth rule of getting started freelancing, you want to decide whom you're going to work with. For me, I didn't necessarily want to do websites for small retail shops. But when I started working for the tennis shop, I was their first employee. I already had a previous relationship with them. And over the years, they became like family to me. And over the past 2 decades of freelancing, I've done so many things with the amazing clients that I've been able to work with. I've traveled with my clients. I've gone to parties with my clients. I've played golf with my clients. I've played tennis with my clients. I've even had clients offer me their vacation properties to use whenever I wanted, and not as payment for services. So choose potential clients that you want to be around. You'll spend a lot of time interacting with them. If you don't enjoy being around them, if you don't enjoy conversing with them, you're gonna be miserable. A few years back, I thought that I wanted to start working with credit unions. So I did a lot of research. I talked with a bunch of CEOs from credit unions to find out what their pain points were. I joined the board of a credit union. And after about a year's time, I realized I had no passion for it. I realized that even though they were super cool people, I just didn't vibe with them. It's okay to try something and then pivot. And you may have to do that a couple times before you really land on what you want to do as a freelancer. But also think about it from the other way around. Who wants to work with you? Who even knows about you? Having a personal brand, developing a personal brand, something I've talked about in a previous video, is something that puts you in a position where people want to seek you out. Instead of having to go out and look for work, people start coming to you. Do you have a personal brand? Are you working on developing your personal brand? Let me know in the comments below. And the fifth rule of getting started freelancing is you need to decide when. When I went all in full-time as a freelancer, I had just come off a short stint as a W-2, full-time employee. I was at a fork in the road. This was about a year after I'd passed the bar exam, and I had to decide, was I gonna go back to the law, or was I gonna go all in and try to make this freelance thing work? And the biggest thing for me that helped me make the decision is that I never wanted to look back years later and feel regret that I didn't go for that thing that was really on my heart to do. So for you, what is your timeline? Are you looking to start freelancing immediately? Or maybe 6 months from now? Or maybe 3 years from now? You know, the truth is, most people overestimate what they can do in a year, but they vastly underestimate what they can do in 3 years. So for you, ask yourself, when do you want to start freelancing? When do you want to go full time? Maybe even ask yourself, why aren't you freelancing right now? If you're thinking about getting started freelancing, or maybe you're already freelancing and you're feeling stuck, click the link in the description. Fill out a short form. That'll go to me. I'll review your response. If it makes sense, we can jump on a call and maybe see if there's an opportunity to work together. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.